Dorothy Moon is with us here with she's the chairwoman of the Idaho Republican Party. And there's a big important event coming up in March. It's the GOP's caucus for president. And I wanted to bring Dorothy in here to help explain how it's all going to lay out there. So Dorothy, welcome to the program. Can you give us your quick pitch on how this caucus works?
Sure. And Matt, thank you for having me on. We definitely want to get the information out to all of our Republican voters who were disenfranchised last year when the primary was removed from statute. So we are having a caucus and we're very excited. It's going to be March 2nd, Saturday. And so everybody needs to mark their calendars right now. And it starts at noon Mountain Time down in most of the state. Up north, it will be starting at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So everybody will be starting opening doors and letting folks come in who are registered for as Republicans for their respective precincts. And those precincts, we have 976 of them have all been covered around the state. We are ahead of schedule. We expected to have about 80% by last Saturday, but every precinct is covered. So every Republican has an opportunity to vote for their presidential choice on March 2nd.
That's great. So, okay. So when you say all the precincts are covered, is it traditional, like you have one little polling place per precinct, or they're grouping precincts together in certain areas? How do we find that out?
Well, we have a lot of different scenarios. So in Ada County, there's multiple legislative districts that make up Ada County. And so a legislative district, such as Legislative District 20, will be having an event in one large event center. And all the precincts will be showing up there to go vote. In rural areas, like in Custer County, where I'm from, there will be 3 event centers, one in Mackay, one in Chalice, and one in Clayton, because I live in Custer County. And so each one of the event centers will have a caucus captain. They're the ones who are in charge of making sure the event goes off flawlessly, which they all will. And the caucus coordinator will be the person who oversees multiple venues, like within a county. So we've got all of our coordinators assigned. We have all of our caucus captains assigned, and we have all the venues assigned. Now, what we're going to be doing is tying each Republican voter to the venue they will be voting at. Because in the middle of February, we will be sending out a massive mailer of postcards to every registered Republican to the address that was listed for them in the Secretary of State's voter roster for December 31st. So we will be mailing those out. That is the largest expense for the Idaho GOP to make sure everybody is aware of where they need to be.
Perfect. Okay, so everybody look out for a postcard or a mailer that will come in February. So that'll have the location on it and maybe some basic instructions. When people show up that day or that morning, so you say the caucus is open all day. Are people voting all day? I mean,
no.
Okay.
No, it's not open all day. It opens at noon. We have a hard start of noon. And that is when people need to be in line ready to go, because things are going to move fast. As soon as that line is gone and everybody has been credentialed to vote, typically, it's going to probably take an hour and a half for these larger venues in Ada County, Kootenai, or Bonneville, and Canyon counties. However, as soon as those lines are gone, no one else is walking in the door. Probably, again, an hour and a half into the event, then they will lock the doors. They will go and tabulate the ballots. This is called a firehouse caucus. This is nothing like the caucus that we had in 2012. Where they were on lockdown, and for hours and hours, they had to keep repeating the vote until someone got a 50% plus one. In this firehouse caucus, it is a plurality. Someone could win 50% plus one or 60%, and then they take all of our 32 delegates. However, it is a plurality. So if a candidate gets 40%, another one gets 40%, another one gets 20%, then they're going to divide up those delegates for the national convention.
I see. Okay. So then let's talk about candidates, because there was news that broke yesterday that Governor Chris Christie bowed out of the race for whatever reason, but he did pay the state of or your party to be on the ballot here. So how will that scenario play out?
Well, we have some money to spend. So every candidate, when they registered to be on our ballot, they had to send in $50,000 and a declaration of candidacy. And once those were verified or deposited into the account, their name officially went on the ballot. So his name will be on the ballot. We will make sure when they go into every caucus location that they know that he is not a viable candidate at that time. The money was non-refundable, so that money will still be applied toward the caucus expenses that we're going to incur.
Okay, great. And then next week is the Iowa caucus, I believe. That's next week. And the Idaho caucus, I think, is fourth or fifth in line when it comes to handing out delegates.
It's fifth in line, and we're excited because we're going to be before Super Tuesday. So we are relevant. Idaho is very relevant in this race. And there's well over a week between the last February election for their presidential candidate choice, and we'll have ours. We've got a 10-day window probably where we'll have multiple candidates, we hope, coming to the state to visit with Idahoans.
Oh, that would be fantastic. I can't think of the last time we've seen Republican presidential candidates come to Idaho during at least during a primary or even a general. Has that happened recently?
Well, during the 2012 caucus, there were candidates that came to the state, but this is a pretty big primary. That's why we're really excited that the Idaho GOP has pulled together and worked with the the RNC, and we have a plan for this Firehouse Caucus. And when people get misinformation out there, I'm telling you, it's going to be fast. You'll be able to go in and vote if you can only vote, and because you have to leave because you're working that day. But it's on a Saturday. Most people don't work on Saturday like they would on Tuesday. There's been misinformation going out that only one parent with minor children will have to stay at home and watch the children while the other parent gets to go vote. That isn't true. In our rules, we state that minor children can accompany parents so that they can see what voting is all about. So we're excited.
Yeah, no, this sounds really fun. I've never done a caucus before. And from what I understand, you're not using any machines. You're doing paper ballots and counting with human hands and human eyes. Is that true? That
is true. So we're going to have paper ballots, and they will be all go into one box, and then they will go onto a table at the end of the evening, or not evening, afternoon, and they will divide them up by candidate, and they will count them twice. When they have the same number twice, then they're done counting. So it's all going to be, this is what everybody's been wanting. Election integrity is a big issue. Let's have paper ballots and let's have hand count.
Well, this is great. This will be a great test run of what it was like in the old days, right? When that was the norm, when it does come to election integrity. Okay. One final question I have to ask, because, caucus primary, 2020, I'm not to talk necessarily about 2028, but the next time that there would be a presidential primary would be 2028. Do you foresee us going back to a primary? Do you foresee staying with a caucus? What do you think?
Well, I think that the State Central Committee was clear at the Chalice summer meeting when they stated that they wanted to do a caucus instead of a convention since we lost our presidential primary. And one of the conditions is we will not accept a May primary for president because then we're irrelevant. I believe that would still hold true at our next meeting. It would have been nice had the state asked us, the primary stakeholder, how we felt about it before this legislation was run through to move the primary from March to May. But we weren't. But I hope they will consider how the Republican Party, the majority party in this state, feels about if they make an attempt to put it into May. If we have a great caucus, maybe we should do another caucus in 28. The reason why is because the taxpayers don't have to pay for it. And I think that's a huge benefit. They used this $2.7 million as how much this presidential primary was going to cost. I'm going to do a deep dive into those numbers because bonds and levies were included with that, which are every year, whereas a presidential primary is every 4 years. So I think that number was a little bit inflated, but I do know that we will be pulling off a presidential caucus on March 2nd for under the $300,000 that we've collected from the 6 candidates.
Wow, that's incredible. Very good. Very good. All right. What are the next important dates that people should look out for? I know they're going to be getting the postcard in the mail in February, but is there anything that people need to do or file, get anywhere?
Well, they've already registered. They should have been registered Republicans by the end of December. And if they want some more information, they can go to www.idahorepublicancaucus.com for more information on our Firehouse Caucus. That's first and foremost, and they can always call our office. We're staffed 9 to 5 every day of the week. The postcards will be going out the middle of February. They can plan on getting those 10 days to 2 weeks prior to the March 2nd caucus date. And again, if they forget to bring their postcard, don't panic. It's okay. We will find out which precinct book your name is in and get you into the right line. We will have maps up at almost every venue to make sure that they can point out where they live, and then we'll get them into the right line. So we just don't want anybody being, concerned that they're not going to have a chance to vote. But make sure you do have a valid identification card.
Fantastic. All right. Well, Dorothy, thank you again for joining us, and I look forward to having you back, and good luck with the caucus.
Thank you, Matt. I really appreciate the time to share the information with our Idahoans.
Absolutely. All right. Take care.